On, okay, we're starting with Nazir Gimel Daled.
$1. Okay. One who says I'm a Nazir for 100 days, if he became a Tameh on day 100, he forfeits all. If Eliezer says he forfeits only 30, if he became Tameh on day 101, he forfeits 30 days. Remember, Eliezer says he forfeits only 7. Someone who declared himself a Nazir while in a cemetery, even if he was there for 30 days, they are not reckoned for him in the count of his term, and he does not bring the sacrifice for Tumah. If he left and re-entered, they are reckoned.
Since we didn't do this together yesterday, it's important to note that we're going to see this explicitly in the Mishnah later, but unfortunately, the Mishnah is not necessarily written in order of the information, of the basic information that you need to know. And I don't know why, but there's another Mishnah that explains that not all Mishnayos, not all forms of Tumah serve to reset the Naziris. Right. So being in an ohel with a mace, that resets the Naziris, or touching the mace, that resets the Naziris. He has to go back to the beginning. But if he just goes into a cemetery, that's one of the lesser tumas, although it makes him tamei mace and he has to do the paraduma and whatever, but it doesn't reset the clock on his Naziris. So if he's on day 15 when he accidentally walks into a cemetery, then he just waits another 15 days. He doesn't shave again. He waits until it becomes tamei, until it becomes tower again using the paraduma, and then he keeps another 15 days, and then he shaves. Okay, so that's the important preface to this Mishnah, is that he takes on this Naziris while he's in the cemetery. So if it was while he was in Ohel Mace, okay, so he's tamei immediately. There's no question about that case. But here he's simply in the cemetery. And even if he's sits in the cemetery for 30 days, it doesn't count for him.
Okay. Someone who declared himself a Nazir while in a cemetery, even if he was there for 30 days, they are not reckoned for him in the count of his term, and he does not bring the sacrifice for Tumah. If he left and re-entered, they are reckoned for him in the count, and he does bring the sacrifice for Tumah. If Eliezer says, not on the same day as it says, but on the first day shall be forfeit. And until they are the first days. Until
you have first days. In other words, so Rabbi Eliezer is saying that he can't. He doesn't lose his. He doesn't bring the korban tumah. For let's say he walks out the cemetery and immediately becomes tamei mace. He actually goes into he actually touches the mace after walking out of the cemetery. So the Chachamim will say, no, that's now he needs to do a tiklachas because his Nazir started ticking, and then he became in contact with the dead body. So now for sure he shaves. Rabbi Eliezer says no, he hasn't had a complete day yet. He only does his tiklachas atuma if he has already if he's already started counting his Naziris days.
Right. Someone who declared a Naziris of long duration and completed his term of Naziris and afterwards came to the land of Israel, Beis Shammai says he is a Nazir for 30 days, but Beis Hillel says he is a Nazir as at first. It happened with Queen Helena that her son went to war, and she declared, if my son returns in peace from the war, I shall be a Nazirah for 7 years. Her son returned from the war, and she was a Nazirah for 7 years. At the end of 7 years, she went up to the land of Israel, and Beis Hillel ruled for her that she must be a Nazirah for another 7 years. At the end of these 7 years, she became tamei, and so it resulted that she was a Nazirah for 21 years. Rabbi Yehuda said she was a Nazirah for only 14 years.
So there's another one of the rare cases of Beis Hillel being more stringent than Beis Shammai. But they say Eretz Amim, if Chutz La'aretz is all tamei mace. We just assume the whole thing is tamei mace.
Okay.
And Beis Shammai are makil on this because they say, look, it's just a gezerah, and the core Naziris really is just 30 days. So let them keep another 30 days, and we'll be lenient on them.
Okay.
Mishnah Zayin, Misha hayu shtei kitei eidim me'idus asa. That's another case where we're going to see Beis Hillel being more machmir than Beis Shammai in Naziris. Okay, so two of them say Elu me'idim shenazar shtein. They say, listen, we saw Reuven and we watched him while he made a neder that he was going to be a Nazir twice. Elu me'idim shenazar chamesh. And the other ones say, no, he was Nazir five times. We heard him say that he was going to be a Nazir 5 times. Okay, well, they're contradicting each other. We've got two sets of Adim who are contradicting each other, and the whole thing falls away. There's no Nazirus at all. So Beis Hillel say, well, it's actually, they're not really contradicting each other. They're just arguing about how many he took on. But even the guys who said 5 agree that he took on at least 2. So therefore, he must take on 2 Nazirus. Okay. Good.
Oh, good.
Okay. Very gallant. Misha Amar Hareini Nazir Shama Chavero Amar Bani. So his friend says, I'm also going to be a Nazir, like just like you. He tied it to the first guy, and another one said Vani, and another friend came and said, yeah, me too. Kulam Nazirim. Okay, that's fine, because they changed their Naziris. Remember, we saw this in Nadarim as well, that if somebody takes a neder from you, and just like from to you, Amasa to you, and they get chained onto each other. Okay. Hutar Harishon Hutru Kulan. If the first guy gets a heter on his Naziris, then all of them fall down like dominoes. Okay. Hutar Ha'achron Mutar. But if the last guy got a heter Nadarim on his Naziris, that doesn't affect anyone who came before him. Amar Hareini Nazir. So if a guy says, I'll be a Nazir, my mouth is like his mouth and my hair is like his hair. It's not even an explicit declaration of Naziris, but as we saw in the beginning, you can make a neder just by making hints like this. Hareze Nazir. So that's also a valid declaration of Naziris. Another case, Hareini Nazir. The guy says, I'm a Nazir, B'shama Ishto, and his wife said, Ba'amra, Ba'ani, yeah, me too. His wife says, okay, so what? So he has his wife being a Nazira. He says, I don't want my wife to be Nazira. I don't want her to shave her head. He can say, no, you can't be a Nazir. I'll be a Nazir. You not. And that's valid, because the husband is allowed to be mayfair. This it's something that's between him and her, and he doesn't like her looking shaven. Fine.
But he cannot revoke it, right?
No, he can revoke that case. The second case he can't. Hareini Nazira. If she says, I am a Nazira, and the husband hears it and says, Va'ani, and he says, yeah, me too. If he says me too, that implicitly has already confirmed her nether.
Well, so that's it, right?
Right. Now you can't go back and say, okay, now I'm mayfair your nether. That's like saying, I confirm your nether, and now I'm mayfair nether. Now you can't do that. Once he's confirmed it, that horse has bolted the paddock.
Okay.
Train has left the station. Okay, Mishna Beis, Hareini Nazir. But so a guy says to his wife, I'm gonna be a Nazir. What about you? And she gets the hint and says, Amen. Yeah, me. I'll also. Mayfair Chilla. He can still be Mayfair. He's just toying with her. So yeah, no, you're not. I was just checking. You're not really a Nazira. Okay, but nonetheless, his own Naziris is still binding, much like the case from the previous Mishnah. It's just this Mishnah goes one step further, where he's actually prompting her to say, "What about you? You want to be a Nazira?" And she says, "Yeah." And she says, psych. Hareini Nazira v'ata, and she says, I'm going to be a Nazira. What about you? And he says, Amen. So the same as the previous Mishnah, since he has heard her Naziris, and he's said, yeah, I'll be like you. That has already effectively confirmed her Naziris, and he can no longer nullify it. Okay. Now let's go. There's one mission at the end of Nadarim before we start Nazir again.
I think at the end. All right, that's it. So then we have. There was a lot today. One at the end.
Yeah. You're finishing 2 Masechtas today.
You Aleph should base.
Yeah.
I want to say you base, right? At first, they used to say there are 3 women who must divorce, that they take their ketubah. One who says, I am unclean to you, or heaven is between me and you, or I am removed from all your Jews. They later retracted that this is so, that a wife should not set her eyes upon another man and behave immorally toward her husband. Rather, one who says, I am unclean for you must prove it. Heaven is between me and you, and they should plead with her. I am removed from all Jews. He should revoke his share so that she can continue in marital relations with him, but she is removed from other Jews.
Okay. Beginning Nazir.
Aleph, Aleph. All equivalent terms used in Naziris are like Naziris. One who says, I will be is a Nazir, or I will be handsome is a Nazir. A Nazik, Mazik, a Patsiak, Natsiak, Patsiak, he is a Nazir. One who says, I am like this one, I am to stroke my hair, I am to let my hair grow. It is an obligation upon me to let my hair grow. He is a Nazir. If he says, it is an obligation upon me to offer birds, Remeah says he is a Nazir. So they can come and say he is not a Nazir. Okay. Okay, we should be on to Moa Cotton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on. Did you do Mishna base?
There was Aleph in the dark.
Yeah. You also need to do
Aleph base?
Base in Nazir, yeah.
Aleph base in Nazir. All right. I have so many tissues here. I'm really confused. Aleph base. One who says I am a Nazir from grape seeds or from grape skins or from haircuts or from tumor, he is a Nazir and all the details of Nazir is applied to him. One who says I am Simshon, like the son of Maniok, like the husband of Delilah, those that like him who bore out the gates of Gaza, like him who to the Philistines gouged out his eyes, he is a Samsonian Nazir. What is the difference between a permanent Nazir and a Samsonian Nazir? A permanent Nazir, if his hair grows heavy, he may lighten it with a razor and bring 3 animals and he becomes stomach. He brings the sacrifice for Tumah. Shamshon Nazir, if his hair grows heavy, he may not lighten it. And if he becomes stomach, he does not bring the sacrifice for Tumah. Okay.
All right, Kesubos. Also the last mission in Kesubos. Yud Gimel Yud Aleph.
Oh, here it is. That's what. If one produced a note of indebtedness against another, and the latter produced a deed that he sold him the field, Adman says he can say, if I were indebted to you, you should have collected yours when you sold me the field. You can come and say, however, that this one was clever in that he sold him the land and that since he can take it for security. If 2 people produce notes of indebtedness against each other, Adman says, if I owed you money, how do you borrow from me? The Kakuman said, however, this one collects his note of indebtedness and this one collects his note of indebtedness. There are 3 lands as far as marriage is concerned: Judea, the other side of the Jordan, and Galilee. They cannot remove from town to town or from city to city, and in the same land, however, they may remove from town to town or from city to city.
Hold on. So that was actually yesterday's Mishnah. We're on Mishnah Yud Aleph, the last Mishnah in Kesubos. I believe so. Let me just check on my schedule, make sure that.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
It was yesterday's. Okay. Everyone can be compelled to go up to the Eretz Yisrael, but no one can be compelled to go out. Everyone shall be compelled to go up to Yerushalayim, but no one can be compelled to go out, both men and women. If you married a woman in Eretz Yisrael and divorced her in Eretz Yisrael, he gives her the coinage of Eretz Yisrael. If you married a woman in Eretz Yisrael and divorced her in Cappadocia, he gives her the coin of Eretz Yisrael. If he married a woman in Cappadocia and divorced her in Eretz Yisrael, he gives the coinage of Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Shimon Gamaliel says he gives her the coinage of Cappadocia, and if he married a woman in Cappadocia, he divorced her in Cappadocia, he gives her the coinage of Cappadocia. Okay,
back to Nadarim.
Really confusing, isn't it?
Yeah, we're doing this interesting little dance, finishing Nadarim, starting Nazir, finishing Kesubos, and starting Nadarim. So Hadron Alach, and we immediately do Hadron Alach. Which tells us, by the way, that Nadarim has exactly 90 Mishnayos.
Okay. I pulled out my tissue from this.
This is a 30-day cycle. It's 30 days after the previous one. So and we're starting with the same Mishnayos.
Okay. I pulled out the tissue. So where are we exactly?
Aleph.
Go ahead. I had it right. Okay. All equivalent terms used in the Dharma are like the Dharma, and those used in Karamim are like Karamim. And in oaths are like oaths, and in the Nazaric declaration are like the Nazaric declaration. One who says to another, I am restricted from you by a neder, I am separated from you, or have been removed from you, in that I shall not eat, or in that I shall not taste, is bound. I am excommunicated from you. Rabbi Akiva hesitated with this, indicating stringency. If one says, like the vows of the wicked, he has vowed concerning a Nazarite, an offering, and an oath. Like the vows of the scrupulous, he has not said anything. Like the devotional vows, he has vowed concerning a Nazarite and an offering. Okay. Olive base. One who says to another, Konam, Konak, or Konas, they are the equivalent to Korban. Karech, or Karef, these are equivalents for Karam, Nazik, and Naziak. Or Paziak, these are equivalents for Naza, Shavusha, Shakucha, and one who swore using the term Mosa, they are equivalent for Shavua.
Okay.
One who says, that's it. Okay.
Okay, now we can move on to more pattern.
On cutting, we have Gimel Aleph. These people may cut their hair during Kol HaMoed. One who arrived from abroad, was released from captivity, left prison, or they excommunicate whose ban was lifted by the Chachamim. Similarly, one who applied to a sage and had been released from his vow, the Nazir or the Matzorah, who returns from a state of contamination to a state of purity. And these people may launder their clothing during Kol HaMoed. One who arrived from abroad, was released from captivity, left prison, or the excommunicate whose ban was lifted by Kol Chamet. Similarly, one who applied to a stage and was released from his vow. Hand towels, barber's cloths, and bath towels may also be laundered. Zavam, Zavos, menstruants, women who have given birth and all have returned from a state of contamination to a state of purity, they are permitted to launder their clothing, and all others are forbidden. And these documents may be written during Kol HaMoed. Instruments of betrothal, divorces, receipts, testaments, gifts, prasbulim, valuation documents, support documents, Kalitza certificates, refusals, selection contracts, court edicts, and government documents.
Okay.
Should be an orla. And we should be.
We should indeed.
Should be in base dalit.
Yes.
Whatever comes to ferment or seasons or renders maduma with teruma, with orla or with kalai hakaram is forbidden. Beis Shammai says also renders unclean. But Beis Hillel says it never renders unclean unless it contains the bulk of an egg. Dostai of Kefa Yitma was one of the disciples of Beis Shammai, and he said, I have heard from Shammai the elder who said it never renders unclean unless it contains the bulk of an egg. Now, concerning what did they say that whatever causes the ferment or flavors or which renders meduma the ruling astringent? In the case of like kinds, stringently and leniently, if they are of different kinds, how so? If leaven of wheat fell into dough of wheat and it suffices to leaven it, then whether it is outweighed by 100 to 1 or is not outweighed by 100 to 1, it is forbidden. If it is not outweighed by 100 to 1, whether it suffices to cause fermentation or does not suffice to cause fermentation, it is forbidden.
Okay. And
the para. Para, okay?
First Negaim, and then we go into para. Wow, we're finishing 3 Masechtas today. Have we done that before?
I don't know. Yud base.
Yeah.
Poor Matzorah who brought the offering of a wealthy person has fulfilled his obligation, but a wealthy person who brought the offering of a poor person does not fulfill his obligation. A person may bring the offering of a poor person on behalf of his son, his daughter, or his slave, or his maidservant, and he thereby enables them to eat from offerings. Rabbi Yehuda says, just like a wealthy man must bring for himself the offering of the wealthy, so he must bring for his wife the offering of the wealthy. And the same holds true for any offering in which he is obligated. If the offerings of two Mitzorim became mixed up, and the offering of one of them was brought, and then one of the Mitzorim died, how does one resolve the predicament? This is the question that people of Alexandria asked Rabbi Yeshua. He said to them, the surviving Mitzorah should sign over his possessions to someone else and then bring the offering of a poor person.
Okay, and to para.
Reb Eliezer, the term Eglah means within her first year, and the term Para means within her second year. But the comment said the term Eglah means in her second year, and the Para means in her third or fourth year. Reb Meir said even in her fifth year, the elderly cow is acceptable, but we do not wait for her lest she turn black in order that it not become disqualified. Reb Yeshua said, I did not hear any term other than shalashis. And they said to him, what is the wording shalashis? He said to them, this is what I have heard without explanation. Said Ben Azai, I shall explain. If you say shalishis, this means with respect to others in account. But if you say shalishis, this means to a 3-year-old. No, it just says something wrong. If you said shalashis, this means a 3-year-old. Similarly, they said a Ravai vineyard. They said to him, what is the wording? Ravai. He said to them, this is what I have heard without explanation. Said Ben Azai, I'll explain. If you say Ravi, this means with reference to others in a list. But when you say Ravaya, it means 4 years old. Similarly, they said if someone eats a tsaras afflicted house, if someone eats a tsaras afflicted house, half a loaf of 3 per kav, they said to him, say of 18 is a sa. He said to them, so I have received without an explanation. Said Ben Azai, I shall explain. If you say of 3 per kav, there is no chala. But if you say of 18 per sa, its chala proportion reduces it. Rabbi Yossi Ben Gili says, para. Okay, and we have
Horayos. And then tomorrow is Hajj Alach for the whole Seder of the whole Seder Nezikin.
Okay. The Kohen Gadol renders his garments from the bottom, while an ordinary Kohen renders from the top. The Kohen Gadol may sacrifice while an Onan may not eat. The ordinary Kohen may neither sacrifice nor eat. And a man takes precedence over a woman in matters pertaining to life and returning a lost article. A woman takes precedence over a man in the matters pertaining to clothing. When is this? Oh, sorry. And releasing her from captivity.
Did you skip a page?
Yeah, I did. And releasing her from captivity. A woman takes precedence over a man in matters pertaining.
But did you do Mishna Livam, the more frequent?
Yeah, I did that.
You did.
Let me see. Whatever is more frequent than its counterpart takes precedence over its counterpart. Whatever is more holy than its counterpart takes precedence over its counterpart. The bull of the anointed Kohen and the bull of the assembly are both waiting. The bull of the anointed Kohen takes precedence over the bull of the assembly and all its procedures. I skipped that. A man takes precedence over a woman in matters pertaining to life and returning to a lost article, and a woman takes precedence over a man in matters pertaining to clothing and of releasing her from captivity. However, if they both stand to be molested, a man has precedence over a woman.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
All right, that's us for today, and I'm going to run to show.
Now, what do I do with all these tissues? I don't understand. Okay. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye.